First, welcome everybody to the call. Thanks for joining our personal branding webinar today, presented by the lovely Jennifer Weaver. Before we dig into the webinar, I'm going to go over a few little housekeeping tips just to be on the safe side. This is being recorded and it will be on demand on our website shortly. Jennifer's program is going to run about 40-ish minutes. We'll let her go as long as she wants. And during that time, I know a lot of you have already posing questions in the Q&A panel. Please continue to do so. We're going to open up for questions at the end of the webinar and allow everybody to converse then. And then please stick around until 10:30. We are going to have a bit of a networking session at this point and time for more questions and answers, and also an update from WAVIT itself. And then lastly, actually, if you can advance one more slide, I think, here we go. I want to thank our event sponsors for their support. Events like this would not be possible without their support. So thank you, OpenEye Global, Sure, Peerless AV, Netgear, Visionary Network Audio Video, BAM Marketing, Allen and Heath, American Music and Sound, and also NV5. Now, I'm going to give you a little brief intro about our presenter, somebody who I've come to love and admire very greatly. And maybe you can kind of relate to this a little bit, but have you ever interacted with somebody online, maybe on social media, and you see their posts and their community engagement, and you really feel like you know this person very well. You know them inside and out. You know them by their personality and by the way that they interact online. Even though you've never met them sort of in real life, you sort of feel that bond. And if anybody can relate to this is kind of how I and Jennifer feel at this point, because for years before today, I've seen her online and I've seen, all her posts and that sort of thing. And this is really a testament of her personal branding. Now you know kind of why she's really the perfect person to present this topic. At a recent DSE event that we held, our Women in Tech Brunch, we were asking our attendees what kind of programming they wanted, what kind of events that they wanted. And one of the top things that everybody mentioned was personal branding. So I couldn't really think of anybody more well-suited to present to our group. So let me give you a little bit of background about Jennifer. Not only is she amazing, but she holds many accolades in this industry. She's been AV Nation AV Professional of the Year. She's on the Next Level AV board. She's on a Higher Ed Ally winner. She's an avid supporter of not only WAVIT, but of HETMA and ETC. She's also a self-proclaimed sneakerhead and AV goddess, aren't we all? And in her spare time, she hosts a podcast on AV Nation and is a mom, basketball mom to no effect. And so with that, I'm actually going to hand this over to this amazing lady now.
Thanks, Brandy. I don't know how I'm supposed to follow all of that. That is amazing. Thank you for that. I'm so appreciative. So yes, Brandy and I have gone back and forth online. I've heard such amazing things about her, and it is true. When you meet somebody in person, you feel like you know them, and that has been the AV industry for me. I've been in the industry for a long time, 18 plus years, and the personal branding thing was very new. And you'll see when I start talking a little bit more, I had a personal brand prior, and I didn't even realize it until I started to understand what personal branding was. And then about a year ago, I had started this branding thing, and then I lost my job and I was unemployed for a few months trying to find where I wanted to land. And so I utilized that to ensure I was out there, I was staying relevant. My name was still there. I didn't just disappear, because a lot of times that's what happens when you're working and you're employed, and then all of a sudden there's that shift and you don't know what to do. And it's how do I do things? We all have a tendency to fall in a rut, and it's hard. And so, that's one of the things I want to make sure everybody also understands is how to use that brand, what to do to stay relevant, where you are, and not lose sight of what your end goal is. So kind of how did I get here, right? So in the AV industry, like everybody, I have fallen into it. I was a high school math teacher that taught with a smart board. I relocated to South Florida from Ohio and didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to teach because I went through the interviewing process, and I, at the time, was a fourth year math teacher, and I would have been coming in as a first year math teacher salary. And I'm like, I don't think I want to do this. So I started reaching out. Smart at the time didn't have a position open. So I found an integrator, so reseller. So I called them up and said, this is what I know, this is what I don't know, and this is what I'd like to do. And I thank God every day that they took a chance on me, and I fell in love with this industry. So I was reseller integrator for a while. Then I actually went and got a chance to work for Smart. I worked for them for about 5 years, and I loved it. And then when I left Smart, I worked for a distributor. From the distributor, I went and worked for a company that described themselves as a technology general contractor. And just within the last few days of this, I am back to not working full time. And so you see there, I have PJ Consulting and Marketing. And that is my own company that several months ago I created, and I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to do anything? Do I just want to have it and sit there and maybe use it? So now we're looking and branching again at different things that I potentially could do. So this all is now coming back to light of what I need to do again. So this is actually kind of perfect timing to do this webinar for everybody. As I said, I had a personal brand, and I did not realize it until I actually started thinking about how I wanted to do this presentation and what this meant. When I started with the integrator, they were called Southern Business Communications at the time. I sold smart technologies. That's pretty much what I did. Miami-Dade County Public School, because I live in South Florida, was my main account. They were the fourth largest school district in the country. I sold smart. I trained them. I helped the teachers understand the software. Way back in 2006, 2007, when you wrote your name on the smart board and you changed it to text, that was the wow factor, right? I also, being a former teacher, understood the struggles that the teachers were doing in the classroom. I taught with a smart board, so I understood all that. So I became known as the smart board lady. Again, personal brand that I probably didn't realize I had, but everywhere I went, people didn't know my name, but they knew I was a smart board lady. So I did all of these trainings. I've probably trained over my career in selling them over 30,000 teachers in Miami-Dade County on smart, what smart does, whether it was an interactive whiteboard and a projector, or we went to an interactive display, which I know it's blurred out, but I still have one here in my office. So we did all of that. Even when I was working for Smart, I did the education sales position, and then I moved over to a channel manager. Even when I dealt with the business side of it, I still was the smart board lady. I would walk in places. But I did not want to be defined by a product. And when I started to work for the distributor, I still was pushed and kind of defined by that product. Now, please do not get me wrong. I still love smart technologies. I still love the product. I love the interactivity, but I wasn't working specifically for them and wasn't specifically doing that product anymore. As a distributor, I had 40 different products I was talking about. So I didn't want to be defined as the smart board lady. But again, it was a personal brand that I didn't know. So when I was working for the distributor, my main focus was going to be in education and the higher ed environment. I was always wearing a high heels dress. I used to tell people, even though I don't run, I could run a marathon in my heels. COVID hit, I stopped wearing my heels. I was in sandals. I was in my bare feet. I am over 45. My feet decided they did not like my high heels. And knowing that I was going to be focusing on higher ed and walking college campuses, like, I can't walk in heels anymore. So I happened to be out at an event in Atlanta with a coworker. And as you can see by this picture of my pink Jordans, I was sitting on the sidewalk waiting for him to come pick me up. I snapped pictures of my shoes and I posted it on social. And that's kind of where everything took off. just a roundabout kind of way that these sneakers started to become a personal brand. So, what I ended up doing with that was looking and going, what is a personal brand? What is it that I need to be able to do with it? So, when you look at what a personal brand is, you can Google it and you can find all kinds of different things. These are two of the personal branding quotes and things that I read that I thought were very interesting. So Harvard Business School says personal branding isn't the intentional strategic practice of defining and expressing your value. It's the a word I can't pronounce, of the association, beliefs, feeling, attitudes, and expectations that people collectively hold about you, right? And so as Brandy's wonderful introduction of myself is that's what I wanted. I want to be able to show people I'm genuine. I'm not doing something that I'm trying to drive attention at. I'm doing something that fits into my daily life that I'm going to do. That's not an obligation. That's not something I wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, what am I going to do with this today? Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting is the influencer marketing hub, which, yes, that is a thing now with everything and TikTok and YouTube and all of those things where everybody wants to be an influencer. Personal branding refers to how you promote yourself. It's the unique combination of your skills, your experience, and traits that you want the world to see. So I look at this and I say, what is it? So what ended up happening, and it turned into an expensive for me personal brand, was I started to pick a pair of sneakers when I went to visit a university that matched the color of the school. Now, at the time, I will say this, my son and I wore the same size shoes for a while. So I would borrow his without sometimes approval. He got extremely upset with me, but he has them. So I said, let me borrow them. So it just turned into, as I went into the school, I had a color on. I would snap a picture of my shoes. I would post it on social media. I would talk about the school. I would talk about, and learn about that university and whatever that university was eventually known for. Or I would ask everybody, what is it something about your university that maybe people don't know? And in doing that, it turned into awareness of universities, awareness of, not only is Jen going out there and showing her shoes off, but she's actually learning, she's actually understanding the environment. I'm promoting these universities in a way that might not get a promotion. And I'm not doing it in any type of a way where it's malicious, where it's forced. It's just the person I am. Probably because I have an educator background. I love education. I love what the higher ed and K through 12 market is doing. And I want to shed light to that. And being in the AV space, working with the tech managers and everything that they're going with, I want to show off the cool stuff that they're doing in the classrooms. Or when I was at walking with my dear friend Craig Underwood at Moravian University, I saw an overhead projector in an actual math classroom. And so to me, I snap a picture of that and I post it and say, look, things like this are still going on. Just because the technology is amazing, we still have our customer, which are his customer, that still like the older technology that's there because it's comfortable. So how do you morph all of that? So it's taking that personal brand, helping and shed light on what's going on, but just making a conversation. So as you guys are talking and you're thinking about what it is, understand there's all different kinds of aspects of what you can do with your personal brand. So one of the things is, when you do this, who are you? When you're thinking about what your personal brand is going to be, who are you as a person, right? Maybe jot it down, write down what you think, what you feel your traits are. What are the things that you love, right? So whether it could be, for me, it was the shoes. For me, it's also purple. I'm a huge Prince fan, if people know that. So I incorporate all of those things because they are the things that I absolutely love. And they are the things that it's not forced. And it's very easy for me to have a conversation and get extremely excited about. And then the other thing is, what do your friends say about you? Not your friends within the industry, but your friends that you sit with and you hang out with. What would they say about you? Because we are harder on ourselves as a person than your friends are going to say. So if I go to my best friend and I ask her some things, she's going to come up and say, I'm funny, I'm crazy, be careful. she'll just, go off on a tangent, but you want her at your side, right? And I will protect my friends to the die all end. So understand what your friends say about you and really think about it, because that's what you're projecting when you're talking about your personal brand. Even though you may think you're not that person, that's who you are. And understanding that and getting that feeling of what that is and who you are. So those are kind of like the three things that I look at and I think about all the time. When you look at what I'm doing with personal branding, when I start to say what my post is going to be like and things like that. So personal branding in the world, right? What is personal brand? Because it could mean lots of things. So it is not just a physical, it is also what you do around you. So when I started to think about who are some of the people that when I think about personal branding that jump in, LeBron James, for one, is one that I think about all the time. I am from Youngstown, Ohio. He grew up in Akron, not very far. I know about all of the things that he does with his high school that he attended, giving them uniforms and shoes. And he has a school in Akron. But then you also talk about him as a philanthropist and everything that he does there and what he has given back to the community. Yes, most of us, if you are in an NBA fan and a basketball fan, you are going to remember LeBron James when he left Cleveland and came to Miami, what he did and everything there. But yet how he's overcome that, right? That was a personally, being from Ohio, not a great decision, but you learn from those. And that's the other thing. You need to be able to learn from certain mistakes if you do them or certain things that you say. But overall, he has a great brand. Steve Jobs, when you think of him, his is not only Apple, but also that physical appearance of, that if you were going to see him, he is going to be in a pair of white shoes, probably pretty dirty, a pair of jeans, not brand spanking new, and a black shirt. That is his personal brand when you think of it. And of course, when I had to put David Beckham on here, because I just think in my mind, when I hear his name, I just think he is just edible and lovely, and I've seen him at games in Miami and wish I could just run up. But that is, he has a great presence, and everything that you hear about him is amazing, and things that you do. So those are kind of like personality type personal branding. But who in the AV industry do you think about when you see personal branding? Chris Netto, my dear friend, AV in the AM. I had the pleasure of working with him. I've also had the pleasure of learning from him. He still calls me his Padawan, which I'm constantly reaching out and asking suggestions and things. So when you talk about a personal brand, he has an amazing personal brand of what he has been able to do with AV in the AM on Twitter. And when you look at it at women in the industry, Effet Chandri over in the UK, if you don't know her, she has an amazing podcast that talks about diversity and inclusion and equity and everything that goes around with that. And if you want to understand what that is, she is amazing to listen to and talk to, and that personal brand that she has. Now, Josh, you know him for his, if you don't know Josh, but you probably see his picture, he's the guy, when you see him at the trade show, he's going to have a cowboy hat on. Now, Josh, I don't know if he wears those outside of, but, from the story I understand from him, he just happened to have it on one time, just like I happen to have my sneakers, and now that has turned into it. So in all of these things, whether it is like Chris bringing in technology people together, and Ifet bringing in and talking about diversity, or Josh just going, man, I know the guy that wears cowboy hats. You know him, you've seen them, you understand them, they're in the industry. So if it was somebody that you wanted to be able to reach out to, these three are amazing and are open because of the fact that they know they have some type of a brand. They cannot be excluded from things, and they don't want to be open. So when you think about that, kind of think about these types of things of what you want to be able to do with that. So as you start to look at building, what is your personal brand going to be and how do you want to do this? You want to have a vision, right? And again, my vision started with, I don't want to be known as the smart board lady, but I know I'm going to be working with the education community, and that's what I love. Can that brand stay within that specific vertical if that's what your vision is? Or is that personal brand you want to start with your vision going to be able to be something that can be expanded? So understanding what your vision is going to be and how you want to do this is really, really important. Again, pulling in your personality with it. I can't stress that. And Crystal will tell you, and Ifet will tell you, it needs to be who you are as a person. And again, you don't want it to be fake. You don't want it to be, I just want everybody to think I'm this person, but that's not who I am if they would meet me on the street. If you come to one of my kids' basketball games, you're going to see me in the Jordans that are going to go with the color of the team that he's playing with, because I want to be able to support. It's just something that I am. If it's a regular day and I'm out doing my grocery shopping, yes, I have my Jordans on. Usually I probably have my purple ones on because, yes, they are my favorite and they are probably my most comfortable ones. Again, it's just something that I incorporate now daily. And now, what's your value that you're going to bring with it? That could range from a lot of different things. It's never. I don't want anybody to think that you are forcing potential monetization on us. If you can do that, amazing, but that's not the goal. It's the value that you're going to bring, whether it is helping a community, whether it is growing that community that you have, whether it's sharing ideas, whether it's being that person that is going to be looked to as a mentor. And that's one of the things I love about being able to incorporate next level learning in with this, is because we're trying to engage and grow youth in the AV industry. And so even though my kid tells me I need to branch out from wearing Jordan 1s, that's what I like, that's what I love, that's what fits me. He wants me to wear other things, but he's like, Mom, you need to get in, because if you're going to talk to kids, that's what they like. But it's not my thing. And your kid's going to tell you different. But I'm able to now go into a high school, talk about the AV industry, and it's okay if the conversation starts about my shoes first, because now the kids are comfortable. So the value I'm bringing into that with those kids is, I'm not somebody they can't talk to. I can try and relate. They love all kinds of sneakers. It doesn't matter what it is. So I'm relating to them. So that's part of a value. So understand what that value you can bring to your brand and what your community is going to be. And again, value authentic. Just be authentic. Don't try and be fake. With social media, and especially other things with like Facebook, a lot of times you see, and I see it even with my friends on Facebook, you want to show the great things. Nobody wants to show the hard, right? Everybody's life needs to look great and it's amazing, and we all know that's not really reality. And be authentic. And if your brand is also trying to help people, if you're struggling, if you want, in a way, say that you struggle. I do that. Every once in a while, I want to be human, and I post on there that I'm struggling, whether that's for LinkedIn or not, doesn't matter to me. But I think with today's world and everything that's going on and people losing their job, you want them to understand that you've experienced something. So be that authentic, be your authentic self when you're doing this. Be committed. It is hard. I will say, I do use a lot of LinkedIn scheduling and Twitter scheduling, because it helps. And yes, I fall into a rut where I'm not posting, and that's going to happen. But try to be as committed as possible. And really, that commitment comes into working and not working. What I mean by that is, if you work for one company today and you're working with a different company tomorrow, keep that commitment of your personal brand going. Just like I didn't want to be tied to a product, your brand does not have to be tied to the company that you're working for. And also make sure that your brand, if you're working for a company, is in line with what the company's values are and what you want to do, because you don't want to completely go against, but you also want to be able to mesh the two together. And then if you're not working or working with a different company, you want that all to be able to flow and differentiate yourself, right? Don't try and do the exact same brand that everybody's doing. And if, like me, if it falls in with sneakers, there's so many people out there that we can call ourselves our honorary AV sneakerheads. But I have not seen anybody that does what I do with wearing the color of the shoes when you go into a university. But you don't have to. If you want to jump on the sneakers and you want to do the same thing, let's great. Let's all band together and do that. But find a way to differentiate yourself, because that's where you're going to stand out. And that's where people are going to go, oh yeah, she does that or he does that. We can remember that. Now, Staying relevant and staying committed is going to come across in a bunch of different ways. Whether it's with your current company, whether you are currently unemployed, whether you are currently working and looking, it doesn't matter. We want you to be relevant. So attend shows and events, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Try to post regularly on whatever social platforms you want to use. You do not need to be on all of these social platforms. I was not a Twitter person. I had to learn that my audience of the higher education market, that's the vertical I wanted to focus on and want to work with, they are on Twitter. So I had to learn Twitter. I'm not as posting as regularly there as I would like to be. Because again, my brain, all of this doesn't always function, but I do love the fact that I can schedule my posts. But Twitter is great because you're more of a human, you're more of a person. So I watch the higher ed community post about food that they're eating and where they're at. So then I can do that and go, okay, that's relatable to them. There was a summer, last summer, everybody was posting about what they were doing outside in that higher ed community. So I'd be posting pictures of me cutting the grass. So you understand that and what your vertical or what your space is going to do. Just understand that part of it, be that human post. LinkedIn, like I said, is amazing because you can schedule your posts. And I really try to set some time aside my post scheduled. You don't always have to post something, but the most important thing is if you see a post and it is something that you are interested in, your comment is better than liking. And so trying to understand what some of those algorithms are, it is difficult. You want to ask people that do a lot of posting. Chris Netto's great at telling you about those algorithms. I've posted some things and learned that if I have a post that has a picture of myself in it, whether it is me holding something and not so much of with a group or just a very kind of genuine post, I seem to get more views on that post. And it is not about the number of likes that you get. It is not about the number of comments that you get. It is about the number of views that you get. People aren't going to comment all the time. People aren't going to like all the time. But I can't tell you how many places I have been at different events and someone has said to me, oh my gosh, Jen, I saw your post about, had no idea who this person is. It is totally fine, but you engage in that conversation and you say, thank you. And oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember you. Or, I can use them again, over 45 and I don't remember names. I remember faces better. So start having all those conversations because we are so used to engaging with people online. You see their post, you see their LinkedIn profile picture or their Twitter profile picture or whatever. And it may be their headshot that they did 25 years ago and not their picture today. That is why I always try to, regardless of what it is, I update my LinkedIn picture to kind of how I'm looking today. And whether it's a Snapchat, mine are not always professional headshots. I think that again makes us human, but that's also going to go back to the organization you work for. They may want you to have a professional headshot. Personally, I don't, because I want to have a current looking photo of myself. So if you see me at a show or at an event or somewhere, you know that, yes, that's me. So actually I have to update my one because I have my purple hair back and the one that I have doesn't have that. And again, like I said, be human. So pick your social platform that you want to use. You don't have to use them all. My Facebook, I don't ever post. That is my personal Facebook. And again, I don't ever post there. My Instagram really is, I have a little side job that I like to do crafting kind of things. That's really for my crafting side. Blue Sky, I'm not sure what we're doing with that. I'm there, we're not. People are there, they're not. We're trying because we don't know what's going on. But Twitter, I still call it Twitter. I know that it's X, but try and post on there if you can. So pick the platform that you want to use. Now, the numbers that I have on here, I have 374 followers on Twitter. Doesn't matter the number of followers that you have on there. It's the tagging. Make sure that you're tagging, you're adding, you're understanding the hashtags. You use the hashtags because people are going to see that when they search. Use that. And I know there's a difference on LinkedIn between your connections and your followers. I look at my connections. So I have a little bit over 2,000 connections. I like that because I don't understand personally the following portion of it. I get it. I don't get it. I don't really follow people. I connect with people. I follow companies, and I'm probably not the right person to ask about that stuff. But, I like my connections because then I like to reach out to people and connect people and understand what they're there and know that, at some point I've connected in my career, and when did I connect with them and why did I connect with them? I try to rack my brain about it. And is it something that we can pull some things together? So now when you talk about being relevant and what to do and things to do with it, attend shows if you can. I know that a lot of time these shows are expensive, and especially if you are not currently working and trying to go to them. Shows like Infocom, if they're in your area, if they're where you live, you always can reach out to some manufacturers to get on the show for free, right? Try to, if you can. I just listed a couple: NAB, depending on the market and the segment of the industry that you're working in, and EduCause for the education. Those are just a few of the bigger shows, right? So when I'm talking about shows, I'm saying the bigger ones. Then look at whatever those regional events are, because they're going to travel all across the country. Hopefully they're going to be in somewhere within driving distance that you can attend. So some of those that are going to be coming back up are like the Cavlo Tech shows. Exertis Alamo always has a show of some sort. HETMA has shows. Again, these are just ones that do the regional ones and that do the smaller ones. There may be a small fee to get into them. There may not be. It just depends. But usually these are hopefully going to be in a city where you can drive and get to. Don't have to worry about flying. Now, networking events are going to be different. Networking events, you really can engage with different people outside of your market that you may not have thought about. So look at your city commerce events. So I just happened, because I live in Fort Lauderdale, so I just have to put the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce. They have events, they have their free events. So look at your city's Chamber of Commerce or where you live, see what those events are. I attended an AI event about artificial intelligence and how it's happening, and it was absolutely amazing. I got to meet some amazing people that I've never engaged with, got to make some contacts to say, help me understand this, because I'm in an industry that uses AI, but we don't use it the way that you're talking about it. Help me understand how to use it. Again, great connections, and you never know. You might find somebody that you're going to potentially do a job for or work for, or just that connection that you can partner on things. The other thing is manufacturer events. All of the manufacturer events are amazing. They usually are going to partner with the same one manufacturer, several manufacturers. They're going to be housed in events. Take a look at those. And then the parties at the shows. Now, don't look at it as it's a party. You're looking at it as a networking event, right? You don't have to go and stay the whole time. That is one of the things that I have learned is you don't have to go. If you can get into the event, if you can get into, like, I'm heading to ISE next week, some of the bigger events that are there, I don't need to stand there the whole time. I don't need to be there the whole time. I just want to be able to get in there. I want to be able to wander around. I want to be able to take a couple pictures and get it posted on social media. That, just being able to do that, shows you are there. You are talking to people. You want to be there for 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's just getting your face out there. It's showing that you were there, and you hop around, right? You don't have to stay. And this is not about any type of partying at all. It's getting into the events. And so that's why I use the word parties, because everybody's going to talk about them at a party after event and after the show and networking events and things like that. But you utilize it as a networking event. And then join organizations, right? Join an organization like WAVIT, join an organization like Next Level Learning, join an organization like the Digital Signage Federation. There are a ton of them that are out there where you can join, you can meet. So I had never been to a digital signage federation event, really didn't know what they were. I was able to go to one a year or so ago in Tampa, and I'm like, this is an amazing part of the audiovisual industry that I didn't know. This is an amazing group of people. So now, when they have those events, I try to get to them if I travel around where they are, because they are amazing. They talk about different things, and it's the same thing with the other events that are going on. We all love our webinars and our virtual events like this, but there's still nothing like an in-person event if you can go to. And, if you can't, if there's a cost that's associated with it and you can't, cover that cost, I am the first to say, do not be afraid to reach out to someone that you know that might be part of that organization to say, hey, this is what's going on with my situation. I want to be able to attend. I'm covering my driving costs and all of this, but how can you help me get into the event? Don't be afraid to ask. What's the worst thing they're going to tell you is no. Most of us, though, that are in the industry, if we know somebody that's part of that event and you have a relationship with them, they're going to figure out how to help get you in there, because that is one thing about this industry is we want to help and support everyone. So don't be afraid to ask. Right? That is the big thing. And so, if there's any questions, that is kind of where I'm going to end here. So here's my contact information. This is all my personal contact information that's going to get you directly to me. Like I said, your brand should be who you are. It should be fun. It should be exciting. It should be something that you can pull people together. And again, it doesn't have to be, and don't always have it tied to the manufacturer or to your company, because you want to be able to use that and you want it to be important, because you want people to go, oh my gosh, I want to work with her or him because of what you're doing and the impact that you're having and the experience that you're having. And I will say, you hear Chris Neto, and I've traveled with Chris Neto, and I jokingly say to him all the time, people will come up to him when we're together and go, oh my God, Chris, I follow you or whatever. And he's very humble about it. And I laugh and joke all the time. And I'm like, oh, Chris, you are AV celebrity. And he says, Jen, no, I'm not. And it's an interesting experience, because and I am nowhere on the level of Chris Neto or some of us that are out there, but I have had that experience a couple times, and it is shocking to me. It is very humbling, but I also have so much gratitude, because then they're coming up to me because obviously I'm doing something, I'm making an impact, and it's always been a supportive comment. It's not a negative comment, but even if it was a negative comment, you're being seen, you're being shown. Good comments, bad comments, sometimes it doesn't matter. A comment is a comment. And a lot of times, if you feel in your gut and in your heart you're doing the right thing and it's a bad comment, it's okay, because a lot of times those people are jealous, they're envious, they want to be able to do what you did, they tried to do what you did, they couldn't do it. But just take it. A lot of times it's very humbling, and it is amazing. And so yeah, so if there's any questions, comments, feedback,
Feel free to open up the Q&A panel on the bottom and ask away.
yeah.
So we have you're amazing, Jen, your beautiful presentation. Thank you for sharing in your story and your branding.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Feel free. We've got an amazing person here that knows a lot about personal branding. Maybe there's something that you'd like to ask.
Yeah, no,
Excuse me.
as you guys are thinking and looking,
Here we go.
Yep.
With the weirdness going on with X Twitter, how do you recommend choosing the site to make it your own?
Choosing the site, meaning choosing which site. Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying. Well, it's the one that you feel your market, quote unquote, is going to be. I do think LinkedIn is very powerful, because you can add more information, you can put different videos in there. If you're not like the check mark subscriber in Twitter, you can't post X number of characters. So I am a big LinkedIn promoter and advocate there because I think you can do a lot more with it. Like I said, the Twitter portion of it is just because the higher ed market is on there. So, it's all about what the others are doing within your industry. I do know that with Next Level Learning, we are looking more at Instagram and Facebook. Not so much TikTok anymore, but Instagram and Facebook, because we are marketing that to a younger generation, and that younger generation seems to be on Facebook and more so on Instagram if TikTok goes away. So it's all about who that person is.
Yeah. I'll also echo into that in terms of, Twitter, X, or any of the other platforms. You have to really kind of consider who your target audience is. So Jennifer mentioned, higher ed and going after sort of a more youthful market on Facebook and Instagram, and that absolutely applies. If you're looking to work more of a B2B situation, perhaps LinkedIn is more appropriate for you. You just have to sort of pick your poison, I guess, is the best way to describe it, but really try to pick your targeted audience, and that's who you go after. You also have to consider when you put a message out, is your audience on at that given time, or are they on later in the day? And you have to sort of study the algorithms that
Yes.
are your customer base or your target audience base, and kind of try to post in that range, so that you're getting more eyes on your posts at that given time.
Yes. And um and that is one thing I have noticed. I've posted things at certain times thinking, and my post was not relevant to the audience I was trying to target, and it didn't get as many views. So it takes time to really figure that portion out. Because and trust me, you're not going to get it right on the first try, and you don't have to get it right on the first try. And if you post something that you really thought was going to get a lot of views and a lot of impressions and it didn't, kind of rewrite it a little bit and post it a few days later. It doesn't really matter. You're allowed to be. So I'm just looking at some of the questions that come in. So I just have to say, yes, Sherry, you're half purple, half blonde, because I will tell you, when I first met you at Infocom, I didn't remember your name, but I remembered your hair, and I remembered you worked with Brandy. And I said, oh my God, where is that girl? So yes, that is not too broad. That is something that people will remember you. And because of your genuineness and your sweetness is also goes along with that. So yes, you totally can use that. The imposter syndrome,
That's tough.
yeah, that one's tough. I don't know, Brandy, maybe you can help me there, because
Sure.
that
I
one is.
think I'll give you a personal story. So many moons ago, I was the chair for the Avixa Women's Council, and I recall being tagged in at a very late date to speak in front of the Women's Council breakfast, and hundreds of people at that point. And I was thinking to myself, I can't do this. There's just no way possible. I'm just nobody in this industry. I'm not worthy, essentially, is kind of the imposter syndrome that I had going on at that point. And I remember my mentor at the time pulled me aside and she said, you know what? Everybody has it. You're not the only one. It's not unique to you. You're nothing special. And essentially she said, you sort of have to fake it until you make it, and act like you own that stage, act like you need to be here, act like you should be here, because you are worthy. They wouldn't have tagged you if you weren't worthy of this opportunity. And that goes for job opportunities and career growth opportunities and all that stuff. So I guess my admission would be, fake it until you make it, have some confidence, and do the best you can in those situations to feel that confidence and to project that confidence.
Yeah. And one of the things I think that I don't mind speaking in front of people. I don't mind doing things like this. I'm going to do a speaking session at ISE. Part of that, I think, is because I was a teacher. And so I stood in front of students. And I think that is the hardest audience to speak in front of is kids, because they're going to tell you exactly how they feel.
Yeah.
So part of that for me is I had the ability to do that. Now, I will say, when I get into a room, and especially within this industry, when I get into a room and I see people that I look to for as a mentor, whether they realize that or not, or I look to them as, oh my gosh, like, I see this and they've done such great things in their life. I'm very much an extrovert, but I have a tendency to become a little bit of an introvert. And I've had to learn that it doesn't matter. We're all human, right? We all get dressed in the morning. We all, regardless of what anybody wants to say, our life is not rainbows and unicorns all of the time. Everybody at some point has gone through some type of a struggle, work, personal, family, whatever the case may be. And if those people are standing in the same room that I'm standing in, they want to be there for a reason. And so, then I've learned to don't worry about it so much.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. How about this next question?
so market
Um,
research, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, market research is a big, scary thing. How can they break into it and learn who their market is and how to research it?
Um, so for me, I've always had the passion of that education vertical. And when I worked at Smart Technologies, I had a passion for the product. So from a market research standpoint, I think you want to potentially look at, kind of what that passion is and where you feel you're kind of a subject matter expert, right? Now, by all means, do I not say I'm a subject matter expert on education and higher ed, but I understand it because I've done a little bit of it. So just kind of look at that and say, okay, I know I have this knowledge base. Now, whether that knowledge base is about, AI or PTZ cameras or interactive technology, whatever you feel it is, just now take it that direction and say, let me do some research on this. Let me talk to some people within a different company or within the same kind of vertical. Let me just learn. Listen, I love the Google. I Google all the time. I go down rabbit holes of things. There's no one easy thing to say. I wish there was like that manual that said how easy it could be. It's not. It's just, unfortunately, it's a little bit of time, but you want to spend the time on what you feel your passion and your love is going to be, because you want to be able to have that conversation with anyone at any time.
Yeah, I'll add to that too. Consider doing a bit of a SWOT analysis on yourself a little bit, right? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are those things that you can bring to the table and really optimize those things, much like Jennifer did, her love of education and that sort of sector led her to where she's at right now. Me particularly, my BAM brand is all about my love of, Wonder Woman and comics and all things that are sort of, in that realm. So, consider what your strengths and weaknesses are, and cater to those types of things. And by researching sort of internally, you're going to figure out, how to talk to those people. Because I'll give you an example. In a brand SWOT analysis, we know that there are certain different types of buyer personas. There are personas that are going to track to you, to become your followers, become your raving fans, if you will. And that's really what you need to hone into, right? Who are those people? Where are they at? What publications do they read? How can I reach them? Are they on X? Are they on Blue Sky? Are they on LinkedIn? What are, you have to sort of like really think about who they are, break them down into very bite-sized pieces. And maybe there are of different sort of personas that are following you, right? People that maybe in Jennifer's case, maybe there are people that are breaking into the industry that want more information. Maybe there are people that just admire her as a personal, as a person, and that kind of thing. Or maybe there are people that are on the manufacturing side that like her knowledge, so she has a whole bunch of different sort of like personas that follow her, and she's really catering to that audience. I hope that makes sense. Let's see, what about this next one? So
Yeah.
I can attest to this. Have you run into issues with your company feeling or expressing to stay in your lane, or being fearful that you're networking for personal gain, as instead of for your company or this new role?
Um, yes, no. So the no portion of it was part of when I worked with Chris at the distributor. That was one thing that they helped with. They encouraged. They wanted, right, because their feeling was, if you're growing, you have a brand, you're networking, regardless of where it is, that looks good for them. And that is helping them, because not only is it helping you, it's helping them because you are also representing, because at some point it's probably going to come up in conversation. Um, the portion of staying in your lane, that portion of it, yes, I have experienced, and it's a struggle. I will tell you, it was an extreme struggle for me because I knew a value that I could offer. I knew a value that I could potentially bring to the table, but the company was so tunnel vision in what they wanted me to do. And it was hard. It was a struggle. What ended up happening for me, I shut down. I didn't enjoy what I was doing. It kind of put me into a rut, and what going, I built all of this. And it was never a malicious build. It was something I feel could be very beneficial to a company. And they didn't understand it. They didn't want to learn to understand it. So it was hard. And what I had to learn was the balance of, with being present on social and doing LinkedIn, what was my balance of promoting the company I'm working for versus promoting some of the things within my personal brand, and how did I bring them together where it's not a detriment to either one. I don't have an easy thing for that. All I can say, it was very difficult. But I struggled a little bit with it. I tried to do the best that I could with it. It's just one of those things. You probably, my better recommendation maybe is if it's a company that you love working for, and those are the things that you're doing and that struggle, sit down and try and find somebody that you potentially could just have a candid conversation with, right? Maybe if it's that person that you could sit with them and have a cup of coffee, have lunch with them, make it in an environment that's not threatening. A lot of times it's hard when you do Zoom and Teams meetings because you're not sitting there with the person. If you can somehow get with that person, in front of that person, and not like it's a scheduled kind of meeting, just very casual, outside of the office kind of thing, and just have those conversations and say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. This is why I want to do it. This is where I feel I'm bringing the value. This is where I think it could be beneficial. Have those conversations. That's probably the best thing. And then, unfortunately, on my side, those conversations still weren't really valued, but I would say start there, because you never know, it might just be a bit of a misunderstanding. Because if you're not talking, because people see everything on social, and like I said, you think you're trying to gain and do something, but they're not really realizing you're helping or promoting a different thing, or trying to gain customers and sales. I mean, that's really ultimately, if you're in any type of sales, that anybody that's on here, that's what we're trying to do, right?
Right.
I'm not going to say that's not what I'm always trying to do. I'm trying to get that sale.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I think too, consider all of these social media platforms that we're talking about, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, whatever that is, those are your personal social media platforms. You are not, I want to say, you are not entitled to represent necessarily your company on those. However, it is kind of a an alignment that you need to consider with them, right? Okay, I'm gonna post on my own behalf. I'm gonna have personal posts that are personally branded and authentically me. But I'm also gonna, repost, reshare, retweet, whatever you want to call it, those posts that are sort of more company centric that that I feel are worthy of my brand as well, right? So you have to have kind of a little bit of a mix, right? I always say and encourage my clients, like, I want your employees to reshare, repost, repurpose all this content. But hey, it's ultimately at the end of the day, it's up to them because it's their personal social media. So whatever we're posting has to really align with what their belief in and what they like to sell for the company or what they want to promote for the company. What about this next question? As a woman in the industry, how do you feel developing your personal brand has helped you prove yourself in the industry?
I laugh at this question because I feel I'm constantly proving myself. I feel that it is something that, again, as a female in the industry, we're always unfortunately going to do. I worked really hard when I got into the industry to learn to understand because I want to use the analogy. I didn't want to walk into the meeting and just be the pretty face. I wanted my customers, because I was talking to mostly men at the district level when I was dealing with the K through 12. The next level down, which were not decision makers, were the females because they were the teachers. Most of them were the teachers, but the district level decision makers were male. I had to know my stuff. When I went in there, I wanted to make sure I knew my stuff, and I still do that. So I try to make sure that I am still learning. I'm still understanding what's going on. I'm still asking questions. And even if it's not something like a market, like the Digital Signage Federation, when I went to that event, I didn't understand what that event was about. Well, now, since I've learned, I'm trying to understand what the different aspects are. Because not only do I want to be able to attend, not only do I want to be able to post, but I also want to be looked at as going, oh, you know what? I don't know this, but I remember Jen posted something. Let me see if she knows. And it's still okay to say you don't know. That is probably the most important thing, because I feel like sometimes with women in the industry, you're afraid to say you don't know, because then it's going to look like, oh, well, you don't know what you're doing and you're female in the industry and all this. But it's okay. There's so much with this industry that I don't know. I am not an audio person, right? I'm still trying to learn. I've been in the industry almost 20 years. I'm still trying to understand audio. And it's okay. But if you align yourself with people that you can go to get those questions answered and to assist you, because they're probably not going to know something that you know, right? So you guys are going to be able to work together. So I think we all are probably going to have to continue to prove ourselves as a woman in the industry. I don't think that is ever going to change until we get a better balance of females in the industry versus males, and a better balance of youth versus the older person. And as we see the next question in regarding ageism, it it's complicated. I'm still constantly doing it. I feel like I constantly do it all the time. Once and when I think I've gotten to a point where I don't have to, I feel like I have to start all over again. So it's a battle. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be experiencing that for a minute.
Yeah.
If you know that.
Say, I'll just add on to that. Don't consider yourself to be pigeonholed as, just a woman in this industry, right? I think of ourselves, and I say ourselves, I think of women in this industry as unicorns. We have a unique set of talents and a unique perspective that we bring to the table. Think of that instead of, sort of pigeonholing yourself into having to prove yourself. You don't. You're unique. You're, uniquely skilled. You have a unique set of perspectives that others do not. And you bring something wholly different to the table. I've been in my personal life and my personal sort of career, I've been really trying to pivot away from, the woe is me, I'm a woman in this industry kind of talk. And in fact, we get asked as board members of WAVIT to be on panel discussions a lot of times, and they want us to talk about, women being the minority in the industry, women being in a certain, you know, uh, category in the industry. And I'm kind of brushing those topics off, to be quite honest with you. And I'd rather say, let's talk about tech. You want us on a digital signage panel? Let's talk about digital signage. Let's talk about opportunities and versus the challenges that we're having. And so I think if we kind of maybe reframe the way that we're thinking about things and position yourself as this unique unicorn, if you will, in the industry, maybe that's a better way to kind of go about it. You don't have to prove yourself. You're unique, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're intelligent, you have skills that nobody else has.
And the other thing too with that is, as Brandy's saying, you can walk as a female. We walk into a room, and especially like when I would help be designing classrooms and conference rooms and things like that, I'm looking and thinking about things differently than potentially my customer is or potentially my male counterpart is, right? We think about, and I think it's just something within our nature, we think about the aesthetics of things, right? You walk in and what's the feel of the room? What really is the outcome that you're going to get out of this, and understanding that and being able to provide that is a value, I think, a lot of people don't understand, and being able to multitask in a way, right? I know some of the multitasking when we talk about it is good and bad, but just being able to think about a few things in that space at the same time, where some people can't do that. So yes, I mean, we are definite unicorns. We are definitely bringing something to the table that not everybody thinks about, but I think we need to get people to think about.
All right, now the big pink elephant in the room, ageism.
Yeah, and
So what are we seeing?
yeah, and it's something I think, and jokingly I say, I'm over 45 and all of those things, but I look at this and go, it doesn't really matter anymore. We need to bring people into the industry. I think that's the most important thing. It doesn't,
Yes.
it's a industry where when you look at the numbers, more people are leaving than coming in. And so we're not aging ourselves out. We're looking at it from the aspect of getting more people in. As long as we're still learning, we're still understanding, we're still trying to figure out. Obviously, we love the industry, that the fact that the technology changes all the time. We need to be able to go with the flow of that.
Yeah.
What else, Brandy?
I was going to say, I think, it's really important to kind of bridge the gap, right? Because especially like programs, and we'll get to this in just a second, but like the WAVIT mentorship program and the WAVIT internship programs, these are, and much like next level, as well, they're bridging the gap so that we don't have an aged out kind of community in the AV industry, right? We have such a need to bring on people young, the youth, and bring them into the fold. So consider again becoming a mentor, becoming somebody who's more of a teacher, somebody who can again help bridge the gap. Your knowledge needs to be imparted with those coming into the industry, just like what we're doing here today. Sharing this knowledge is super important so that we get a well-rounded community, so that we get a new fresh set of eyes, so we get a new set of perspectives. But don't knock the people that are tenured in this industry as well as being amazing, full of vibrant knowledge as well, because that's definitely the case as we see it too. So
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where we're at. It doesn't help though that I'm going to stand on the soapbox for just a second. It doesn't help that we see things in the industry like the top 40 under 40 or the SCN 9. Those are wonderful accolades. Don't get me wrong. And I know some of you on this webinar have those accolades. It's wonderful. But we also have folks that are like AV living legends. Does that make us feel a little old? Yes, it does, dang it. But
Right? And what is that crossover? Where do you turn? Is it soon as you're over 40, right?
exactly. I think these are all great things. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, we definitely need to really embrace outreach and getting a youthful's perspective into the AV community.
And part of I think of it too is there's no career path and no educational
Mm.
path. And I know there are universities that do audio engineering degrees or electrical engineering degrees, and there's things that and universities that will do paths for theater and everything that goes with it and film. But that's all in my mind the audiovisual industry. That is the top layer. Everything beneath it is sub little categories. So what the other thing that I think is very important, that even in your community that you live in, is take a few minutes and see if the local high schools or middle schools or even the districts that you're living in offer any type of programs. Like my son's school, there's a TV production club and there's TV production classes. So I'm trying to get in front of those students to talk about what the industry is, going, okay, you're learning all of this stuff, you have this knowledge. You don't have to just do TV production because that's what the class says and that's what they think. They don't understand that they're learning something that can be applied in a different area. And it's like the saying, you don't know what you don't know. And these teachers and these advisors may not know or understand what all goes on. So I'm trying to get out there to educate them. And that's, one of the things that being a mentor is doing and what WAVIT can do and Next Level Learning can do. But just in your own community, if you have kiddos that are going to school, just ask them. If you don't know, ask them if there's any type of club or program that you can reach out to and go talk to the class for 5 or 15 minutes. I mean, it doesn't have to be a long conversation. It's just, this is what it is. Unfortunately, there's no career path. This is what you can do. If you want to go to college, and you want to eventually get in this, maybe get an IT degree because it's eventually going to go there, or that would be beneficial, but just help them understand.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think we have exhausted all of our questions. Unless there's any more, please feel free to keep going. If not, we got one more. Hold on. Not a question, but a comment. As a woman in audio engineer, I'm usually getting feedback that I'm positioned by my company as a unicorn because of the diversity requirements in today's business. Especially if it's about public media interviews, people would say that that's a good for a company image. I find it challenging to also commit to personal brand development, even though part of me understands that media exposure is the right way to get recognition. Yeah, somewhat, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but you also, it's great that your company is looking at you like this. That's great. But you also want to be able to say, it's not just my company, it's the understanding of this portion of the industry. So I would run with that. I mean, I literally would figure out a way to be able to run with that, because that's where that personal branding commitment, you have it already in a way, which, even though it might have been given to you from your company that you work for, but you have that personal brand kind of already. And I would just take it and run with it. And now if you're on social and you're doing some posting, kind of put that information out there of knowledge, right? Not so much about a product, not so much about the company, but just the audio engineering portion of it. What do you give recommendation, give information, give post on there and say, hey, if you guys are, this is one of the things I see when I'm talking with the sales people, that they're not looking at when they're walking into the customer space. Maybe it's something along the lines of, hey, when you're walking into your customer space and they're going to start talking about audio, think about these 3 things, look for these things, start posting about that. If you don't want your personal brand to be audio, I don't know, but I think you've got it. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I think you can totally branch and run in a way that is not going to be detrimental, but it's going to be beneficial. And I look at this now and I'm like, oh my God, that seems so easy. You just need just a little few things to get you up and running and going.
yeah. Also consider partnering with other influencers rather in that space, right? Jennifer had a unique, position with Chris Neto. I think that's wonderful. So maybe there's somebody in the audio engineering space that you can also sort of tag team and partner with a little bit, dovetail off of each other. So, next question. In these times, how do we continue to stay strong, committed to our personal brand when forces abound seem to be rolling things back? Yeah, this is a tough one.
It is tough. And it's I like I said, it's hard. When I was unemployed for several months, it was very hard because I would wake up in the morning and I would say, woe is me. And I now have to fill out more applications. I now have to look more. I now have to do more networking. I now have to do this. I now need to try and stay relevant. I need to stay in front of it and all of that. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. And, especially I've had some personal things going on in my personal life. And I'm like, God, how do I do this? Because you want to sound upbeat, right? It's all about the presence. Well, it's okay to talk about those kind of things. I think that's where if you get in a mindset where you say, I'm going to sit down for 45 minutes or 30 minutes or 10 minutes, doesn't matter whether you're doing it in front of your computer or you're doing it on your app on your phone, right? If you get in the mindset of going, I'm going to post something right now, post it. If you feel like you can sit for 30 minutes and schedule your posts, because then it looks like you are posting, schedule them, Monday morning, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, schedule them when you want them to go to make it look like. And again, like I said, even though you might not be posting as much because of whatever, if you're like me, when I get into a rut, I sit and I scroll. If I see something on LinkedIn, because I'm constantly on scrolling on LinkedIn, because I love to see what everybody else is doing and what's going on, just like when I want mindless and want my crafting things, I scroll TikTok. If you see something that sparks for you, comment instead of liking.
Yeah.
Comment on it, even if it's a wow, that's amazing, or congratulations, or I think this is some great advice, just something general. Or even if it's three little emojis of something, right? Make
Yeah.
a comment, because then now your name is going to be there and that comment is going to be there. So it shows up. It's always going to show up on the people that are there. So even though you're not posting yourself, the comments are very important.
Yeah.
Reposting is okay.
Mhm.
Yes, you do want to do some reposting, but commenting way much better than liking or loving or whatever comment, little emoji thing you want to use there.
Commenting actually amplifies your voice and their voice on LinkedIn or any platform for that matter. And I guess the other thing, just to kind of go back to this question about how do we stay strong, you need to stand in your power and you need to align with people then that are in a community that are like-minded in your same kind of mind space, if that makes sense. I know that this is really kind of a tough time. Things are rolling back. We're hearing things daily that may not align with our own personal values. I would just say stay strong, stand in your voice, stand in your power, and align yourself with groups that you feel kin to, right? If it's WAVIT, if it's HETMA, if it's whatever that is,
Whatever.
align yourself with, yeah, exactly. Align yourself with those people that are in your same sort of mind space. And collectively, I think we bring more power to the table that way. All right. I don't see any more questions. And please continue if you have more. I want to get through a few little Wave It updates if you don't mind real quick. But please feel free to continue using that Q&A panel. That's really relevant. So we've got a few updates really, really quickly from Wave It on our side of the fence. We do want to let you know that we will be celebrating Black History Month and amplifying members' voices and spotlighting them. So stay tuned for that information. In March, we always celebrate International Women's Day, and that is definitely going to happen again. This pose that you're seeing, this Accelerate action campaign, is what we will be having going on all throughout March, rather. So stay tuned for social media posts. As always, we'll want you to strike the pose and send us your pictures, share your pictures on social media. So more information will be coming along with event details that we'll be having a virtual event on, as well as how you can share your pictures and those sort of things. April, I'm really happy and proud to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a scholarship in the memory of Mary Cook. who passed away in November. So stay tuned for more details about that. That scholarship will entail a full ride to a major trade show. So, and then May is also dedicated to mental health awareness. So that is something that we will be shedding light on in May and having programming in that as well. And then June, we will be celebrating Pride and also empower her safety as we sort of lean into InfoComm. So that's one thing. If you'll advance the next one, thank you, ma'am. We also, as we mentioned a little bit earlier in the program today, we have our Wave of Influence mentoring program, and it's really picking up some speed, and we're having some really amazing success stories coming out of it. If you haven't signed up, it's really, really easy. You can submit a form online. We'll match you based on your graphics, what you're looking for in a mentor or mentee sort of relationship, how long you want to be in that relationship, and those sort of things. I'm going to add a whole bunch of links in the Q&A in just a few minutes, or the chat panel rather, with different programming aspects that I want to make sure you have access to. Also, if you can go to the next one as well, we do have a job board. So many of you have either seen posts or seen social media posts about this. As an employer, you can post job opportunities online. And as a candidate, you actually can post your resume. So it's a bit of a matchmaking kind of service as well. So that's our Ripple Effect job board. And then we also have a podcast, which is amazing too. So tune in for that. It's on all the major streaming platforms like YouTube and Spotify and those kind of things. We'd also love your help if you're so inclined to volunteer for any of our committees, and those are all listed here. I won't go into details about those, but we are also always looking for volunteers to help with different aspects of forming WAVIT and our mission. And then lastly, I would be totally remiss if I did not thank our sponsors again, but also mention that we all need additional sponsors. So if you have a company or an organization that you're working with or that you represent, we'd love the opportunity to present being a sponsor to them and how they can benefit. Again, want to thank everybody who is our current sponsor, which is, again, Open Island Global, Sure, Fearless AV, Netgear, Visionary Network AV, Now Marketing, Allen and Heath, American Music and Sound, and also NV5. Without them, these types of programs and future programs would not be possible. So thank you so much to them for becoming sponsors. But again, we'd love to hear from you if you have additional organizations that might want to also be included as sponsors of WAVIT.